Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. In the words of Chris Short, I'm not Chris Short. I am Bobby Kessler, the associate producer intern of Red Hat Streaming, all good things Red Hat Streaming. And we have a very special edition of Red Hat Streaming today. We have an intern showcase of sorts because Red Hat obviously has a lot of interns. There's a very big internship program. So this show is just an opportunity to give some perspectives of different interns working at Red Hat and the different kind of things that go on. So without further ado, I'll just get into it since obviously I'm kind of an intern here as well. As I mentioned, I'm the associate producer intern. What I'm doing right now is basically my job. I produce the shows on this YouTube channel and on Twitch, all the things going on there. And so, yeah, it's been mostly just making sure everything on YouTube doesn't completely mess up and everything goes as smoothly as possible. And this summer in particular has been interesting because there have been many moments where my boss, Chris Short's, internet has gone out midstream and I would just panic and be like, oh no, like, what do I do? But in those moments, it's really important to just adapt and to just figure it out on the spot and not freak out too much, even though I did very much, but just keep it chill and, just, I don't know. So yeah, it's been a really great summer. And one of the big projects that I've been working on is this internship show with Jaret Anderson, who's been very helpful in getting this going. This has been really awesome. So yeah, I'm just really happy that we got this working. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Jaret to introduce himself.
Hey everybody, I'm Jaret Anderson, and I'm a technical marketing intern for the REL team here at Red Hat. And as Bobby mentioned earlier in the summer, we got put in touch to work on this project, so we basically shaped it into an intern Q&A show. And so we invited a few guests here. We have George, Nirmol, and Sophia, and they're all interns just like us. So we wanted to have a couple people on to just share what made our experiences what they were this summer at Red Hat, and maybe give some idea for future interns. Here's what to expect, and here's some lessons we learned. So for me personally, I've been working on a lot of content creation throughout the summer. So this fits right in well. And I was able to recruit our guests here with the survey. So now I'm going to pass it over to each of them to introduce what they did this summer. Go ahead, George.
Um, yeah, so I was a partner business and development intern for the CCSP team, which is the Certified Cloud and Solutions Provider team. And so I just worked with them on some projects all summer, and it was a great experience.
I can go next. Hey guys, I'm Nirmol. I'm currently a product management intern here at Red Hat. This summer I worked on a couple projects, but the one that I'm currently working on, I'll be working on through the fall, is this tool called Polaris, which is basically a way for customers to track like the way that they're going on with their software delivery performances based on changes being made in their code. Yeah, it's been a really awesome experience. Definitely a huge learning curve, but I've enjoyed it so far, and I'm excited to continue through the fall.
Hey, I'm Sophia, and I'm a partner solutions architect intern here at Red Hat. And a lot of what I've been doing has just been learning about the products that Red Hat works with and shadowing meetings with partners and customers and kind of seeing how other solutions architects interact to try to work with partners to sell products to customers. And I just want to thank everybody for coming. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, great. So I wanted to start from the beginning with our question list. So basically, the first question I wanted to ask everybody is just what even made you apply to Red Hat? What made the company stick out to you? Because, not everybody I've talked to knows what Red Hat is when I say I work there. So how'd you find the company?
So for me, I think it was honestly like a luck thing. I didn't know what Red Hat did before I applied either. It was just like I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a product manager. So I kind of just was scrolling, and I think it was probably like a job post that I might have seen on LinkedIn or something. And I took a look at kind of the job description, and I was like, oh, this seems kind of cool. I was like, I've been sort of familiar with open source before, so I was like, okay, that's like a cool concept. And then it wasn't until I started kind of actually going through the interview process where I started researching, and I was like, oh, whoa, like Red Hat is like really cool. And I'd kind of known, the only thing I knew kind of before I applied was that Red Hat was acquired by IBM, because I think that was like a huge acquisition that went on a couple of years back. But I ended up applying, and I met the team, and like the work that they were doing was really cool. So I think that's what really kind of got me engaged once I was like going through the process of interviewing and understanding like the work they were doing, the culture at Red Hat. So yeah, that was kind of just like my luck there.
I found Red Hat in a little differently. Red Hat kind of found me. Everyone always talked about how networking is important, and my old AAU basketball coach is a guy named Ernest Jones, and he's a Red Hatter. And I like to make these little inspirational posts on LinkedIn, like these little paragraphs. I don't know. And he saw one of them and he loved it. And he was like, hey, you should apply for a job here at Red Hat. It's a really cool opportunity. And so I did. And I didn't know anything about it beforehand either. But yeah, Red Hat found me, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, for me, so both of my parents kind of work in the tech industry, and my mom has a lot of friends that work at Red Hat, and she was like, you really need to get an internship at Red Hat. And I was already looking for an internship, but I was like, okay, thanks, Mom. I'll know to like check out their internship jobs and apply for like as many as I can. So it's just kind of because my mom was like, you should really apply here. It's a great place to work.
Yeah, I definitely am closer to that end of the spectrum because I actually had a CentOS server in my basement. I was a big fan of Red Hat, and I applied for like 20 positions here. I was like, I'm working here. I'm making it happen. So it's always funny to me when people don't even know what it is. I'm like, no, but I've been such a big fan for so long. So
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was kind of one of those people you're talking about. I didn't know anything about Red Hat. I was just really going hard on Indeed, to be honest, because I study film and informatics at the University of Iowa. So I was looking for something, and my mom was making me apply to like 10, 15 internships per day. And then I saw this position for like a production assistant for like the Twitch and YouTube channels. I'm like, that sounds like my thing, because I've been like making content on YouTube, just like movie review wise. It's really goofy. I'll never share the link, but stuff like that forever. So like this sounded really interesting to me and combined the two things I was studying. So even though I didn't know anything about Red Hat when I applied, I just knew this was something I wanted to do. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's some great insight. So then I know we all gave like intros on kind of what we did this summer, but I wanted to get a little more specific. Once you actually got here through the application and everything, what is like one like specific thing that really sticks out that you think kind of like defines your internship? It could be like an event or just like a new relationship you made or anything. Maybe to give an example for me, I was able to make this YouTube video adaptation of like an interactive asset we had on our team, and I really liked the chance to make a video. I thought it was a lot of fun, and that kind of like shaped my experience this summer. Does anybody else have anything that stuck out to them?
I think for me, it was just the people here. It's a different culture. It's really unique. And I was saying this yesterday. I had this intern expo thing, and I was talking about this. The open culture is like it's a real here, and they're really open to new ideas and new people, and everyone is so nice and supportive, and everyone's trying to help. And it's surprising because I wasn't ever used to that. And like all my other jobs in the past or internships in the past haven't been that, like looking out for interns. Like we're usually the bottom of the barrel, but it's been really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with George. I would say like I feel like coming in, like I don't know, I feel like I was given so much ownership. Like at first, like things were kind of like slow because it was like getting training and stuff, but like it wasn't like, oh, she's an intern, she can't do much. It was like, here's like what you're going to be working on and like take this on yourself. And it was like just really like open culture. And I don't know, I appreciate kind of the support you get while you're working on what you're working on. So I think that was like kind of generally a highlight, like the people, and then like how that led to kind of being able to actually accomplish more throughout the internship on my individual project.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with George. Networking was pretty much one of my favorite parts. I think the highlight of my internship, admittedly, is going to the Red Hat Tower in Raleigh to meet my team and go out with them for lunch. And, they were really wonderful people and really nice. And it just kind of made me think, oh, wow, like if just my team is nice and all the other interns I've met are nice and everyone I've met at Red Hat is nice, I just feel like the culture here is amazing. And I'm really glad to be able to network with all these different Red Hatters.
And to go off of that, I was sorry to interrupt you, Bobby, but I was saying, like I was looking at all the development sessions they did for us, and these things could be integral to our success anywhere. Like they were teaching us how to do LinkedIn and stuff like that. I was like, it's crazy that they're paying us. I feel like something we should be paying for, but it was awesome. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of echo what some people have alluded to. Like, I remember Chris on like, it was sometime in the first week, he said like, yeah, you're not going to be like an intern that's just getting coffee or looking for like emails or something. It's like, I actually feel like I'm making like actual stuff here and like making an impact, because like, especially in regard to a lot of like the film internships and stuff I was applying for, it's like, oh yeah, you'll be getting coffee and like doing that. Cause like, that's just where you start most of the time. But so this is very exciting to just know that the work I'm doing actually makes a really big impact in some cases.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I didn't even think about that when I was brainstorming for this, but yeah, the fact that we got like trainings for free, we got all those development sessions, definitely was really nice. So maybe to contrast that, what's one thing that like if you could start it all over and do it differently, what would you change about your summer? What are the regrets?
I mean, I can jump in on this one because like just in general, personality wise, I'm very introverted and don't talk to a lot of people. And even though Red Hat provided a lot of internship opportunities to like, I think they had like a coffee break and they had a lot of different events to really socialize and network. I never took full advantage of a lot of them. So I guess if I went back, I'd probably do that just because I feel like even though I've really enjoyed my experience, I do feel like I missed out just because the introvert in me was like, no, I don't, I'm scared of doing something like that. So that's the main thing I think I missed out on.
Actually, kind of piggyback on that. It's not, I don't know if it's only just the introvert in you. It's also just because, you know, we're remote right now. So it's kind of harder to talk to people because I didn't, um, I wish I had like a little bit better relationships with some of the interns just because, you know, I just don't know them that well. I don't know anybody that well. I mean, I know my team well, but you know, intern wise, yeah, I wish I kind of connected more and, you know, made longer lasting relationships. But, you know, it's still awesome. It's still awesome. And everyone was nice and helpful. But yeah, definitely, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think for me it was similar. I think there's two things for me. I think that was one of them. I started kind of engaging in some of like the virtual happy hours and stuff, but honestly, like I think for me, because we were remote, I was like, whenever I can get time off the screen, like I'll take it. So like I didn't kind of make an effort to like make friends out of it. But at the same time, I know that if we were in person, like we would probably all be kind of more closer with each other. So yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to get to know other people in the office, like as things start to open up. But, and I think the second thing for me is that I kind of came into this role assuming it was be very, very technical, which it is. And I think that made me very nervous kind of from the get-go. And I didn't let myself kind of be okay with like not necessarily knowing everything. So like the first few weeks, I like really struggled being like, oh, like, am I good enough to be kind of doing this job when I don't have the kind of experience that the people on my team do? But in reality, I think everyone's really there to help you learn. And like, obviously, like we're also just starting our careers. So like the way that we kind of progress and learn is going to be different. So yeah, I think I would tell myself to take it a little easier at the beginning and like not stress too much about kind of learning and understand that like you'll get there when you get there.
Yeah, I was actually going to say something very similar to what you just said about the kind of like it even gets into more like the imposter syndrome territory sometimes for me, where it's like, oh, they're paying me to do this job and I have no idea what's going on. And like, I think if I was able to really like internalize earlier on that, like, you know, they're trying to develop me, right? I'm an intern. So like, and I mean, I'm sure even as a new hire, you know, it's like everybody understands that learning's part of the job for sure. So I think I could have saved myself some stress by really knowing that point early on.
Yeah, definitely at first I was like, oh, I'm just getting paid to learn and make mistakes. I feel like, you know, I'm not good at this job because all I'm doing is sitting here learning and making a lot of mistakes, having things break, like my computer, where I was offline for 4 days trying to work with the tech support just to fix an issue. And, you know, I really felt like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, I'm terrible at this. But definitely, after a while, you realize, oh, you know, it's just part of learning. It's just part of the job. Like working for a tech company, things are going to break, things will happen, and it's not always in your control.
Yeah, so I'm hearing kind of this through line of like, it seems like a lot of maybe the things we look back on did kind of have some relationship to the fact that we're virtual right now. Like people talked about the social aspects, the technology impacts. Was there anything else about the virtual internship that kind of sticks out in your mind? Like, was there anything that you think makes it different? And if you did another virtual internship, you'd like try to, any lessons learned there? Maybe something for me to jump in, kind of what sparked this question in my mind is I found it a lot more difficult to keep kind of my like daily routine intact, you know, like I had to really remind myself like, hey, don't let lunch slip back to 3 p.m., you know, like make sure that everything's happening. I don't know if anybody else has any other things they learn.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for me, like going back to some of like the initial stressing and stuff, I felt like because I was at home, I was like, oh, like I should probably make sure that I'm available whenever. And like it was almost like not like necessarily doing work all the time, but more so just like being sure that like I was kind of like on and sort of active. And like what that meant was kind of not necessarily having like a clear break of like when the workday ends, which I think is important to kind of do for kind of just general balance. But otherwise, I do appreciate kind of like the flexibility of virtual work in terms of like not having to go in all the time. I personally am someone who would probably want to go into the office when we can, but also like have the option to kind of be virtual at times. And I think that's what's cool about Red Hat is that like there's no kind of like obligation to going in like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say with being virtual, I kind of had the sort of, I guess, opposite experience that some of you guys had in terms of the social aspect, because I actually connected with a lot of interns, a lot of Red Hatters, and definitely a lot of people that my manager told me to get in contact with. I could just, send them a ping and we would talk and set up a video chat. And, I actually connected with some other solutions architect interns who don't even live in the same state as I do. And I think that, with being virtual, it allowed me to connect with people that I wouldn't have normally met just by going to the office.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is definitely some pros to virtual, how we can, connect with people on the other side of the world sometimes, and so quickly and seamlessly like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I can kind of jump in. Oh, sorry. Sure. I can kind of jump in because last summer I also had a remote internship that was very more toward the film based, and it was like analyzing scripts, which was kind of cool. But the thing with that was that it was very loose. Like we only synced once a week. So it was very easy to just slack off because like just in general for me, like having a virtual internship or working from home, like working in the same place where you can like just go on social media or where you watch TV or something, it can be very tempting to not work. But like with this internship, it was a lot more coordination, at least compared to where I was, and lots of meetings and all this stuff. And my boss and I set up a to-do-ist where we tracked all of our different projects, which really kept me on track as far as like, okay, I'm motivated to work on this today and to get this done. So like having some kind of system like that, as well as just having a setup where you're sitting at a desk and not working on your bed, which is very easy to do, but is not the most productive method. Having a really good setup and motivated way to do all your work, I think you can still be very successful in a virtual setting.
Yeah, there's a great combination of kind of loose and being able to make your own decisions, but also some control there and some organization there. It was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely had to. I like, a lot of people say try to get like a different space, right? Well, unfortunately, this is the only space I've got right now in this place. So like all of the things I do for fun are right around me. So I agree with you. The focus thing, you definitely have to have a plan. And I halfway through the summer started just getting out the notebook and I'm like, here's what I got to get done today, right? Like here's my task list. And like that definitely was a big thing that helped me, was just having that on paper, like you're saying, have that organization. Because I actually had a pretty similar experience where last summer my virtual internship was much less structured, and I appreciated that about Red Hat here, where my managers had lots of face-to-face time with me, lots of meetings and stuff. I felt very supported in that regard, which definitely easier to keep focused. But so that actually leads me right into kind of like the next question I wanted to ask here, which was like, were there any work specific challenges that you had to kind of overcome this summer? And this, I mean, you can get as specific as you want in this. The one I was going to cite for myself was like, I had to learn how to use this new tool to like facilitate interactive labs. And initially that was like pretty unfamiliar with me, and it felt really inefficient. I felt like I was struggling with the tool more than the content, right? So I don't know if anybody else had any kind of challenges they faced.
So I was helping create these videos for these internal sales teams that help them explain how to co-sell with Google. I remember like my second week this lady who I worked with a lot, this woman who I worked with a lot named Rhoda Bernstein. She was awesome. And she was like, here, George, just write up a script for these 6 slides, these 6 things we're gonna add to the deck, and then I will put it in the video, but just write up a script. I was like, okay, that shouldn't be too hard. And then she told me what the script should be about, and I was like, okay, I'll do some research. So I made the script, and it was just, and I showed her, and she was like, no, none of this really makes any sense. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I had to go back and do it all again, but that was just the beginning, and I kind of, got more into it. But yeah, at first it was a little daunting, but yeah.
I can go. For me, I think something that I'm kind of dealing with right now, which has been kind of challenging, is so I'm the kind of project that I'm working on is like something that we give to customers, but it's not necessarily like, I think in a lot of OpenShift products, customers don't necessarily know that they need it, but they kind of have these pain points and we're trying to meet them. So it's kind of like a weird balance of like trying to figure out what their problems are versus like how we can help them find a solution without kind of giving them the wrong solution. So that's been kind of like a something that's a little bit difficult to deal with, and like kind of having that brainstorming session has been a little tough, but it's cool to kind of be able to have those user conversations and interactions and see where customers are supported and where they feel like they need more support moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of alluded to what mine was earlier, but there were many streams where, well, this summer my boss was having a lot of internet issues. So there'd be some times where he would just disconnect. And he's primarily the host of the shows on this channel. So in those moments, I am not a good host at all. So I'm just like, what do I do? So yeah, just having to adapt to that and like not freak out too much and just kind of chime in and be like, yeah, Chris lost internet, so we can continue the conversation for now, but we're back online and stuff like that. And also another thing was, for me, I never used GitHub at all, so it was very intimidating for me, and I'm still not an expert with it at all, not even close. But yeah, I mean, those are the main things I had that were challenging, and I at least overcame the producing one, like when that went wrong. But we're still working on GitHub. Hopefully we'll get a little better with that.
I'm curious, Bobby, what since you're not in like a super technical role, what do you use GitHub for, if you're able to share?
Yeah, I mean, we primarily use GitHub for like the OBS setups because we have different scene layouts for the different shows, like the Level Up Hour and other shows like that. So whenever there's adjustments that have to be made, we have to change it in Git and then upload it. And I remember the first time I did it, I felt so confident. I'm like, this was great. Like I nailed it. And then I got a message from Chris and he's like, yeah, you didn't rebase your fork. Like all these are messed up. It's like, well, shoot. There goes my confidence for the day. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff I would do on Git.
And that sounds like a pretty good challenge to have to overcome. I definitely appreciated that about my role, where it wasn't like as technical as some of my previous roles, but since Red Hat's like a tech company, I feel like I was able to slot right in there, still using Git, still using all that stuff. So I thought that was really nice. So one thing I wanted to kind of get into related to the challenges a bit, I was curious, at the start of the summer, did you all kind of set any specific goals with your managers? Did you have any like objectives? And if so, or if not, like how do you feel like you met those this summer?
I can start this one off, I think. Uh, I mean, the main goal is kind of what I'm doing right now, is to be able to produce and sort of host a very, very small co-host right now. And so like it basically started off like just being able to understand OBS and to produce on my own, because I remember The very first day I streamed, Chris was not, he was absent for the day. And so it was basically all on me. And the first stream went okay, but the second one was like, it was not the best at all. It did not go well. But yeah, just over the summer, I eventually got better. And now I have a general, I feel very good in it. So I feel like the overall goal of being able to produce an OBS confidently and to be able to create and host my own stuff to an extent. Yeah, it seemed to work out sort of well. I think so. I think so at least. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a kind of pretty loosely structured internship because my manager was like, okay, go on the Red Hat learning site and learn about these things, complete these courses. And then the second month of your internship, attend at least 12 shadowed meetings. And if I have any deliverables for you that the team needs, I'll just send them to you as we need them. So it was just kind of like you learn things at your own pace, shadow meetings. And if my manager had anything for me, he'd just send it my way. And that's kind of the only real goals that we set.
Yeah, I think my internship was structured kind of similarly to Sophia's in the sense that like I wasn't given a project from the beginning, like this is what you're doing all summer. It was more like, oh, like you're going to integrate onto the team, and then where you're needed, you'll kind of like step in. Specifically with like the tool that I was like kind of like I was shadowing a certain PM and then working with him on his tool. And then eventually that led to kind of progress, I guess, and then me moving towards a different tool that needed more attention moving forward. So I think it was kind of like there was no specific goal set at the beginning, but I think, or the way I like to see it is like the goal was for me to be able to work on a PM project eventually by myself. So I think that's like something that I've started working on now, which is cool.
Yeah, same here. We didn't have like a set goal or project for me. It was more of a it was kind of an opportunistic kind of thing. So when there was a situation that arose that I could work on or help with, then they would hit me up from there. So I guess the goal was just kind of get, I don't know, into Red Hat culture and get in, figure out more about Red Hat, but it wasn't a set goal really.
Yeah, it seems like we're all on pretty even footing there. And I definitely appreciated that because I never felt too much pressure at the start. Like I never felt like there were any deadlines looming on me right away or anything. But I'd be curious what y'all think. There maybe like a month in or so, I definitely reached a point where I started kind of like making some deadlines for myself because I almost felt like I needed just like something to like break it up, right? Like I felt like I was kind of just coming in and doing like some work every day, but I didn't really have like a direction as much, you know? So did you all like that freedom, or was there a point where you started to want some more like rigidity?
I think for me, like I think I understood that like a lot of the internship, and from what it sounds like what you guys are saying, I think the purpose of it is like to start getting a lot of exposure to kind of like Red Hat and like the different verticals or whatever. And I agree with you. I think for me, like it was kind of like I didn't have set deadlines, but and I think it used to make me a little nervous because I was like, oh, like I don't know, like, should I be doing like something more specific? Like, am I the one who should be kind of taking that initiative to make sure it's done? And I think like it was like trying to figure that out. But then I think for me, honestly, like having that open communication with my managers and being like, oh, like what kind of goal are we working towards? Or is it like what would we want to achieve? And I was like, I'd be happy to take on XYZ like this, like that. And I think that was helpful. But definitely I think like it can go both ways for people depending on how they are. Me personally, I like to kind of sort of know where I'm working towards. So I liked kind of having a little bit of structure. Okay, like this is what we're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think it's like a good balance. But I do know from like my manager, it's like a lot of the culture of Red Hat and what I've seen is like if it's broke, like go fix it type of thing. So it's not like it's not very like structured in that sense, but it's like everyone's kind of very hands-on everywhere and whenever it's needed.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of enjoy not having it super structured because a lot of times, my main goal towards the middle and end of my internship was shadowing meetings. And some days I would have back-to-back meetings pretty much all day. or sometimes people would shoot me like a ping, be like, okay, I have a meeting in 10 minutes that I want you to attend. And really having loose deadline on deliverables, or not even having a deadline at all, kind of helped, because I didn't stress on like a day that was super heavy with meetings. Oh, I need to get this done. You know, it was just kind of like, as I'm available, as I'm free and not doing other things, I can go work on this thing instead.
I think that's really interesting what you're saying about how like a big part of your role was shadowing meetings. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but like, was there like a bigger objective there, or is it just like you're trying to like learn what's going on at the company?
Yes. So my kind of role as a partner solutions architect is kind of working with partners and talking about like the products. And also I've been shadowing one of my mentors. She works with customers. So part of the reason why it's so big that I shadow meetings is because the majority of my team's interactions is with partners and customers. And obviously that has to be done in a meeting. And so by kind of learning about the products, and B, watching those partner and customer interactions, I can kind of get more of a feel for how this sort of technical salesperson role is supposed to go.
Yeah, a lot of my internship was shadowing meetings too, and it was actually like some of the most fun I've had. Like, one of the teams under the CCSP team is the Partner Cloud Solutions team, and so they work with customers and try to reach a predetermined business goal while utilizing a Red Hat solution. So what they always want to do is they always want to sway the conversation back to the business side of things, because a lot of the customers we talk to are obviously, tech focused, and but usually, Red Hat selling to the IT side of the customer, but we wanted to talk to the business side and those decision makers. And so I would sit in on these meetings, and it was so cool to have these companies with these really interesting tech solutions and like just crazy cool ideas and stuff. But that was like, sitting in on those conversations was like really important to my development and understanding Red Hat and stuff.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think a lot of my internship was also kind of shadowing. And I think it was really because like a lot of the interactions that PMs have is like with different stakeholders. So it was like, whether it was like the UX team or customers or like engineering and stuff, like not every conversation that was like listening in on was like a conversation that I was speaking in on. But I think that was cool because I think it kind of gives you exposure on like the kind of dynamic and kind of conversations you should be having like moving forward as well.
Yeah, I don't know if have any of you happened to have done a sort of role like that in a previous internship, or is this kind of your first chance getting exposed? I'd be curious if you have any thoughts about how that compares or contrasts to other places, but if you haven't done it before, that's fine.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, George.
No, I was just gonna say, no, in any of my other jobs or internships, I haven't really been shadowing meetings or anything like that. No, but it is an interesting approach here. It's cool. And it's like the best way to learn. So
I think for me, it was a little different because so I came from a software engineering role for my previous company. And with software engineering, what I found was like, you're like given a task, right? It's like very like specific, like here's the ticket, just go solve the problem. Like that's about it. So you're like having very little interaction with kind of other people aside from other engineers, or like, I guess your managers who are like making sure you're building the right thing. Versus this is a lot more like customer facing, or also like just like different stakeholders. And it's almost kind of like weird because you feel like, oh, like I don't have like one specific deliverable to get, right? Like it's not like, oh, like this is what you have to accomplish. Like here's the task, here's it like kind of written out, like solve it. It's more like broad in terms of like the kind of interactions you're having. And what's cool about like the PM role, I think, is it's like you wear multiple different hats. So it's like your days and pretty different. So yeah, definitely I haven't done like much of the shadowing before, but I think I see why a role like PMs would need more shadowing than like an engineer who's kind of more focused on their one specific portion.
Yeah, I definitely at my previous software development internship, I probably shadowed the Jira board more than I shadowed any human, so I can relate there. I definitely think for me, it was kind of an adjustment at the start of the summer how much like FaceTime I got with other people here. I definitely wasn't necessarily used to that or prepared for that. And I wasn't that maybe would be something I should have tacked on to the like lessons learned or things I'd do differently, is definitely just like not feeling like I was imposing on people every time I was in a meeting with them. Cause I always felt like, oh, they're taking so much time out of their day for me, right? Like I always felt like I was like a burden or a hassle or whatever. But it really seems like that's part of the culture here, is just, getting people in the video calls and getting them up to speed. So I I wanted to get into, we have like, I actually only have one more question on the list. We've kind of burned through them. So I was curious if anybody had any specific thing they wanted to say, kind of outside of my host journey, if anything popped into anybody's mind throughout this. If not, it's totally fine. I'm just giving an open mic here. If not, then we'll get into the grand finale that I have written down here, which is, what advice would you give to future interns who are curious about an internship with Red Hat? What would you tell, all of the people a year younger than you at your school?
Well, if they're curious about internship at Red Hat, I'd say certainly apply. Have an open mind when you come into it, especially about, depending on who you are, I guess, but definitely be open to meeting new people and talking to people, and people you may not have, I don't know, people, just talk to everybody you can, reach out to them and they'll reach out to you. And it's a great experience. I'd tell them to do it. Apply here, nowhere else. No, but definitely do it. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely tell future potential interns to really just take almost every single opportunity that's been handed to you. So if you see that there's like a LinkedIn development session, you go to that LinkedIn development session. If you see that, there's an intern that has the same role as me, you should connect with them. You should really like try to network, try to sign up for all these like different events to really just get to know the culture, get to know the people, and just learn. You really want to maximize your whole internship. So you should really take as many opportunities as you can.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think like ultimately, like as interns, we were also kind of given that pass of like, this is our time to really learn. So it means like hitting up whoever and like just being okay with kind of being uncomfortable in some situations and just like forcing yourself and like kind of encouraging yourself to go out there and like learn and make the most of kind of a really awesome internship. And like kind of like given the culture at Red Hat, it's gonna benefit you to want to kind of get to know these people and understand like that you're not going to be the smartest person in the room, and that's okay, and that's actually almost better. Like you'll have those conversations and meet new people, and I think it's a really awesome experience. I'd tell everyone to apply and not to shy away from it, and like not let like the big buzzwords scare you away from applying. So I think it's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, my dad always says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And Red Hat's definitely, something like, I don't think I was ever the smartest person. I definitely wasn't. But as a sales major and a marketing minor, I didn't really know I was going to do tech or work for a tech company. But just something I would say is just like be open to that. Be open to new stuff you didn't think you would do, and like try not to just work with people who are like you, and try to find people who aren't like you. So then you guys can kind of improve each other and do different things together. And I think that's like a really important part. And Red Hat gives you that opportunity. So.
Yeah, definitely. I would also kind of say, you're an intern and no one expects you to know everything, because the people that you're working with, they obviously, you're here for a reason, and they want you to ask questions. They want you to learn. They want you to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, because, at the end of the day, it's just an internship and you're here to learn and you're here to improve.
Yeah, just to kind of go off of that, I mean, apply. apply to the internships in general, and just do your research, see if it's a position that you want to do. And if you are in the midst of an internship and you're feeling like you're the first week, you feel very overwhelmed, that's okay. You're here to learn, because from personal experience, like the first week I was working at Red Hat, I got all of this stuff, like all this new information. I was so scared. And I remember I was close to breaking down with my mom because I'm just like, I don't know if I should be here. This is just like so far above my head. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay. Like, that's very normal. You're here to learn. It's completely fine. So don't be afraid to apply. Don't be intimidated. Just, if it sounds like something you would like to do, a place you would like to work, then definitely go for it, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Yeah, something I really appreciated about Red Hat too was that I feel like I was encouraged and rewarded for like being myself and like talking about my interests and stuff, right? Like my manager had me make a slide of like, hey, here's all my hobbies and passions and stuff, and throw it up in front of the team in a big meeting. And I had people at other companies, like I've done that and like it's been fine, like whatever. But at this one, I immediately had like 4 people ping me on Google Chat and be like, hey, you like bass guitar? I've got this music recommendation, like, oh, you like cooking? Here's what I made last week. And I was just like kind of taken aback. I was like, wait, everybody's got hobbies. This is crazy. And I found that to be really cool here, that like I felt like I totally agree with what you were saying, George, where it's like you want to have some people around you who are different than you, right? You want people to complement your weaknesses and strengths. I also really liked here that it felt like no matter what, if I said something, there were a ton of people that would jump on it and be like, hey, I like that too. And that's not always something, especially at tech companies, I feel like I've experienced. So I thought that was really cool. And I think maybe that partially stems from the open source culture. I think a lot of people who've been here for a long time seem to value that pretty strongly. So I like that about the summer.
Yeah, actually, to add on the whole open source thing, I think that's like a huge part of it that like probably makes the culture the way it is. It's like super collaborative, and it's like people are always seeking feedback. I remember when I first got here, like people would post like their like whole like doc planning on like memo list or on like all these just different channels, and you'd be like, whoa, like everyone's just like sharing everything and like wanting to get people's feedback. And I was like, that is so interesting to me, because like I think previously it's not like companies just don't like share like purposely. It's like they don't find the need to. They're kind of like, oh, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, and it's just that's just how it is. But even internally with my own team, like every time anyone's doing anything slightly important, it'll be like, oh, hey, can I get your feedback on this, and this? And like it's super open, and it's kind of, I think it just like comes with the job, and I think people enjoy it. Like that's why they do it, right? Like they're like they want it to be part of the job.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you said, Jaret, I remember after I did after the little talent show. By the way, the fact that they let us have a talent show in front of all of Red, I guess I should have said that when you gave us the open floor. Like that is insane, They let us have a talent show. Just cool things like that. But when I did that little musical performance, I had like, after I closed out, after I exited the Blue Jeans, I think I had like 45 emails from just random Red Hatters just being like, dude, that was awesome, man. And reaching out or asking me, what type of music I like. It just people, just random people. And yeah, I mean, that's just a testament to the culture here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I've got for today. I definitely can give it one more chance for anybody to say any lingering questions. But otherwise, Bobby, I don't know what we got to do to get this wrapped up.
yeah, I can take us out. So if no one else has any questions, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, we really appreciate it. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to slap a like and subscribe to use those cliche YouTuber things. Coming up later on Twitch and on the Red Hat developer channels, we have an episode of Dev Nation, so definitely tune in for that. And outside of that, I think we are done with Red Hat streaming for the week. So once again, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. stay safe out there. See you, everyone.